Hi, I'm Miriam Schulman. I'm the Assistant Director of the Markkula Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University. Today I'm here with David Vosbrink, who is the Director of Communications for the City of San Jose, and we're going to be talking about social media in government and some of the ethical issues that new social media platforms are raising for government officials. We're hearing a lot about social media and the way that it's changing the way that government officials correspond and communicate with their constituents. Do you think it's raising new ethical issues, or do you think it's just a different vehicle?
I think it's both the same problem we've always had, but it's compounded and amplified. Social media allows ethical issues to go viral instantly. The extent in terms of distance and speed is phenomenal. So the consequences of a mistake, a factual mistake or an ethical lapse, has far greater consequences. But the same principles, I think, still apply. The principles of telling the truth, knowing who you are representing, who's affected, who benefits, who's harmed, all those balancing tests that go into ethical decisions, those haven't changed. But you have a bigger audience, or potentially far bigger audience, for things that could go wrong for you now. On the other hand, there's a lot of ethical positives that can come from the new tools, that you've enlarged the conversation, you've reached more people can engage in the back and forth. You have a greater range of views that can be seen and heard through an effective use of social media, and that's a good thing, particularly from a government perspective, where we govern with the consent of the people, fundamental to American democracy. Then the consent of the people is based on an informed people who are engaged. And if social media allows a greater level of thoughtful engagement, that's good. But there are some qualifiers to that. Thoughtful engagement means that people are taking it seriously, they do their homework, they're respectful. And I think we have an obligation as a government host for that social media conversation to encourage that thoughtful, respectful conversation. We can do that by policy, we can do it by practice, we can have explicit requirements that will take down comments that are irrelevant or obscene or not respectful, and we have full ability to do that. At the same time, be mindful that there is a First Amendment at work here, because as government we can't censor people. That's part of our system as well. So the ethical benefits, I think, can outweigh the ethical traps here, but it also puts a burden on us as individuals and institutionally to be really mindful about the consequences. Before, if you were speaking to the Kiwanis Club and you said something that was incorrect or stupid, then it didn't spread very far. Now if you say that and it's picked up on an iPhone and it's immediately posted and tweeted and retweeted and becomes something that goes viral, then the consequences are huge. So the challenge we have is that you just have to be aware that this is a different environment, even if the principles remain the same.
What kind of institutional issues are you finding that social media are raising, and are you creating new kinds of policies that address the ethical issues that you're finding in the social media environment?
We have, I think, a significant challenge as an employer, public sector employers, that our employees, our staff who are engaged in public service, all have rights for expression. They don't have rights to have personal expression when they're on the clock doing city business, but people have every right to work in campaigns, to express themselves on their personal Facebook sites, to disagree with elected officials or policy directions. They all have rights to do that. The zone that I think starts getting complicated is, are there times when the expression of those personal views can interfere with your public responsibilities? And that'll be different depending on what your role is. If you are a senior executive, you're responsible for the Public Works Department, you're the city manager, you're a member of council, then that sphere of consequence is a lot wider than if you're a custodian or a parks worker or a library worker and you're not really responsible or involved in that public policy debate. And so we have to respect people's rights to express themselves. At the same time, we have to remind the people who work for our city, our organization, whatever it is, that if they are undermining our common purpose here, our shared purpose of improving the quality of life of the people we serve, then that could be a factor in how they do their job and their assignments, and whether we need to have some sort of discussion, or depending on how serious it could be, even to a point of some discipline. Fortunately, these are rare, but they will occur. And I think this is an area of policy and practice that public sector organizations are still sorting out.
Thanks very much for joining us. If you'd like more information about government ethics, you can go to our website, www.scu.edu/ethics.